Welcome to another episode of the Market Makers in Middle East and Africa podcast. I am your host Abrar Hussain. Today I speak to Namir Khan, Chairman at MENA Fintech Association, founder and CEO at Phils, a leading sustainability fintech company in the region. Namir, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Abrar. Really kind of you.
Yeah. Namir, I know that you started with very humble beginnings. You came to Dubai a few years back, and now you are a founder and leading one of the largest association in the region. Tell us about your story.
Abrar, first of all, it's been a great journey, and I'm blessed in the sense that I have all the right people around me today. As you mentioned, humble beginnings. Humble beginnings. When I came to the UAE, literally knew no one, zero connections, zero people. And when I came to the UAE, it was a fresh start for me. And as they say, success is not final and failure is not fatal, right? So it's the courage that keeps you going, that makes who you are. That's the case. It was resilience, it was commitment, and most importantly, it was a realization of the fact that even if you do not know anyone in the country, even if it's a fresh start, it is your mental commitment. It is your understanding of what you would like to do, what is the vision, and no matter what it takes, you will stay committed towards it. That has been a very important part of who I am today. And today, Alhamdulillah, I know some of the best people who are around me today. That without whom I would be, nothing. So kudos to everyone who's around us. Kudos to everyone who joined, my own journey as well. So thanks to them to make it possible.
Perfect. Now, your role as a chairman of MENA Fintech Association, I know you started around 4 or 5 years back, and now is one of the four largest bodies in the world, fintech bodies. Tell us what's the vision of MENA Fintech Association and what you aspire to do and why you even started at the first place.
MENA Fintech Association was founded in 2018. The foundations were set in 2017. The first announcement was in 2018 during FinTech Abu Dhabi at Abu Dhabi Global Markets. Thanks to the leadership in Abu Dhabi Global Markets at that time, who made it possible to ensure that the MENA Fintech Association could be set up. Why was the MENA Fintech Association set up is because there was a requirement for the voice of fintechs to be heard with the regulators. That is the foundations that we laid on, that we basically established, the first thing. The second thing is that, very important, is that what are those foundations? Foundations were advocacy, foundations were talent, creating a stronger talent pool. Apart from that, in terms of collaborations, ensuring that there's more collaborative environment. And most importantly, the policies that are being established for the fintech community are conducive for the overall fintech community to flourish, not just for the fintech community within the region, but outside the region as well, because this region is a gateway, right? A gateway not just to the region, but of course to the wider world as well. That's why today everyone is talking about how do I move to the Middle East? How do I move to Dubai? How do I move to UAE? Everyone's talking about this today. So the foundations were set at that point of time.
Digging a bit deeper again onto the association side, MENA Fintech Association, how do you work with the local financial institutions, the government, the regulators, and how you help the entrepreneurs and the companies?
Abroad, we've evolved significantly from how we were operating previously and how we're operating today. Let's go step by step. How do we work with the regulators? Today, when we are working with the regulators, it is more around also understanding what sort of policies are going to come, what sort of policies are being devised, what is the industry feedback that needs to be given to the regulator. It's very important, right? If you're building and establishing a framework, to hear the ones who are innovating, hear the ones who are building. When we started off, not just and in fact, even today, as I mentioned, we've evolved. Not just the regional fintechs, we take inputs from global bodies as well, like Innovate Finance, um, Luxembourg House of Fintech, and many other leading bodies who work very closely with us to give their inputs on how they have been operating and working globally. And then our local experts, because in the MENA Fintech Association, we have different verticals, policy and regulations, where we have experts who are experts in the policy and regulations vertical itself, like lawyers, policy heads. Then we have Open Finance Working Group, which is comprising of open finance organizations and companies and individuals and experts who are experts in that. Third is Shift, which is Payments Working Group. It specializes in professionals and organizations who are more specialized towards payments. Then we have Digital Assets, comprising of some of the best organizations. It's going to be announced very soon publicly, but some of the best organizations globally who are a part of it, right? Then we also have Future of Finance. All of them are run by some of the leading experts. Now, what we do over here, Abrar, is that we basically take the inputs from these leading experts, blend it with the global insights, blend it with the local insights as well, and then this way, you're able to give a much more refined feedback to the regulators on what should be the next steps. That is how we're working with the regulators. Secondly, we're working very closely with the regulators on talent development. Very important. In fintech, one of the conversations you will have everywhere is that, okay, I'm struggling to get talent. Build talent. If you're struggling, let's contribute towards building more talent. That's where we started working very closely with academia, building up curriculum, building up educational programs that can be blended such that it helps address the national agendas of the country to build talent within the specific sector. Then let's talk about financial institutions and services. Today, financial institutions are working very closely with us, and there are different financial institutions. There are different categories and different layers. They're banking, they are payment players. All of them today, again, some of them would like to have access to fintech companies. Some of them would like to get experts' inputs and insights, a formal one for the organizations. That is what we have been doing as well on the financial institution side as well. Some of the financial institutions are launching some very dedicated programs with us. Some are on innovation, some are on basically sourcing new ideas, because everyone has tried on the financial institution side as well, tried and tested accelerator programs, etc., etc. So we're trying some new engagements as well with financial institutions, which we are quite positive are going to be very successful. Then let's talk about governments. Governments have been absolutely supportive to the MENA Fintech Association. In fact, I would take the opportunity to thank on your podcast, His Excellency Dr. Thani Al-Zayudi, who's Minister of Foreign Trade. He's been exceptional, because one of the things that we have been doing is working very closely with different countries all over the world. Today, we work with 43 countries, working very closely with embassies, ambassadors, and we're working on trade, on bringing more trade into the country, into the region. That is a very important thing that we have been working and been building on for the past 5 years. Now, on top of that, I would also like to thank on the governmental side, Her Excellency Mariam Al-Meheri. Who's the Minister of Climate Change and Environment. Again, leading from the front, exceptional, working very closely with us on the Sustainable Fintech Pledge, which was launched by the MENA Fintech Association. So the leadership in this country has been exceptionally supportive of what we're doing, right? And most importantly, I would say it adds to a zeal, not just for the MENA Fintech Association, but for the broader fintech community.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Namir. Now you mentioned something called sustainable fintech. So I
Correct.
want to come to your startup, which is into sustainability and fintech.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something more about Phil's, your startup, what you are trying to do, and what is your vision?
Thank you, Bra, for bringing this up. I would like to start this with an American proverb, which is, "We do not inherit the world from ancestors; we borrow it from our children." Very important to understand. See, listen, we we're building a world today. We're living in a world that is going through crisis. We do see major catastrophes happening, climate catastrophes happening. We see humanitarian crisis happening. Everything is intertwined and linked to each other. For me, I've always been questioning myself. What keeps me up probably in the night is, what am I leaving behind? What are we leaving behind for this world? I mean, we are borrowing this world from the children. What are we leaving back for them? And that's where I started basically, you know, going back and understanding that how can I leverage my skills to basically leave a better world? And that's the real foundation of Phil's. Phil's is basically a sustainability climate fintech, which is digital payments infrastructure that enables businesses of all sizes to embed climate and sustainable action into every single in every single business model. And we do that by connecting, the demand side where we have multiple businesses who are looking to make an impact, and of course on the supplier side we are working with different projects where we connect the two together and make it happen. See, an important thing is also to understand. Let's take another step back. Today, the global crisis that we are facing is 51 billion tons of carbon emissions. Let's remember the number 51 billion tons. Now, 51 billion tons of carbon emission is an annual emissions that we are emitting. Carbon emissions is a product of consumption. We all consume and we emit. Consumption is a product of spending, and spending is a product of payments. That's why it is very important to tap the digital payments infrastructure. Very important. Now, that's how we basically establish the overall infrastructure for Phil's to enable ourselves to be embedding easily into any digital payment transaction that is happening. And we are very, very grateful to all the partners who are working with us. We haven't made any announcements. I wish I could tell more, but we are so excited to bring all these partners together. We have some major global executives working with us. Kudos to everyone. I wish I could tell you more, but kudos to everyone for being a part of us, to what we're doing, and we are extremely excited to what's coming ahead. Most importantly, the excitement is to what good we do. The world is about what good we leave behind. So that is the important piece of Phil's, and that's the real DNA.
Perfect, perfect. Now, sustainability is kind of becoming very important. It's getting discussed at the board level, and we have seen fintech has its own run across the globe and in the region as well.
Correct.
Now, how this intersection between sustainability and fintech is happening, and what impact do you see it will make in coming years on the world?
Thank you, bro. As I say, alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much, right? First of all, today sustainability is a global issue. Now, when we talk about sustainability, let's not limit ourselves to just planting trees, which has been a thing that everyone talks about. Let's plant trees and plus, that's it. Sustainability, the first thing the sustainability talks about is no poverty, right? And when we talk about poverty, poverty is not basically, giving someone access to finance is not an act of, I would say, charity, but it is justice. So sustainability starts from here. Second, today, if we were to reduce the emissions, which we all have to, you see every single organization, every single country has different targets today. Some countries are looking to go net zero by 2050, some are targeting 2060, and some companies are looking to go net zero by 2030, 2040. Which means, and these are all leading organizations who are looking to do this, which means there is a strong global movement, unified global movement towards this. Yeah? First thing. Second thing is that financial services is a very important fabric that is going to enable this transition. This transition cannot happen without financial services. Number three, now the way we had industrialization, today we are having the same movement, same transformation. Some people are calling it the great transformation. Now, when you're talking about the great transformation, everything you see around you, be that anything you can touch, hear, feel, every single thing is going to go towards, everything is going to go, through this transformation. That includes services that we use, be that the airlines, be that the fuel that we use, be that the food that we eat, be that the way we travel, the way we commute, the way we live, and the way we do our financial services too. Everything is going to be transformed. One. Second thing is that why are fintechs, this intersection is so important today. As I mentioned earlier on, payments is a genesis point. It's all happening towards it. We say that fintech, the payments is the heart of fintech. I'm now saying that payments is also the heart of enabling sustainable action. That's how important it is today. Because payments also lead to change in behaviors. How people are basically making the payments today, how people are going to be making the payments in the future. You make payments on such a recurring way that you're able to, for example, at the point of transaction, you are able to inject some level of, consumer awareness. Second thing, when we're talking about financial services, again, enabling funding access to projects who are acting as carbon sinks is also very important too. Now, there are two types of things that are happening today. First thing is nature-based solutions, projects that are nature-based, carbon sinks. You're talking about, tree plantation, reforestation activities. You're talking about, cleaning up the oceans as well, because it's very important. The second thing we're looking at are human-engineered projects such as direct air capture, providing funding towards those projects that is going to eventually help us suck the carbon from the air, right? So being able to finance those projects. Third, abroad, we're going through very critical times today. As you can see in the news, we have the Greece floods, we have had the earthquakes in Morocco, we have had 2,000 people who just recently lost their lives because of floods. Talking about the floods that we had in Pakistan, almost $40 billion worth of loss to the economy within just 3 weeks because of natural catastrophes, because of what has happened lately. These catastrophes, as they're also predicting that a child born today will actually face 10 times more climate catastrophes than any other, the previous ones that all of us have actually experienced. So which means if there are going to be more disasters, more crisis means more access to finance is required, more rapid access to finance is required. That is again where fintech solutions are going to play a critical role in being able to provide access to finance to people in need, to people who are trying to provide humanitarian support, to people who are trying to rebuild their lives. So financial services is a very key, I would say, component in enabling this massive transformation that we're going towards. That is why you would see major banks today focusing on launching products that are focusing on sustainability. You have green bonds. UAE is leading in green bonds, by the way, doing exceptionally well. And second thing is that banks are now looking to launch products that are more sustainability aligned. Why? Not just because there's investors in there and the board is asking for it. The regulators are going for it. The consumers are demanding it. Your younger generation today, the upcoming generation, the major buyers are looking not. Today they are more concerned of sharing their identity. So there is this thought. They're more aware in general of what is happening to the world. And again, that brings me to the point. We are borrowing the world from them.
From there. Thank you for it's a very good explanation. Now you mentioned that on a yearly basis we emit 51 billion tons of carbon.
Correct.
and there is a word called carbon credits, which is kind of becoming kind of a buzzword.
Correct.
Where, so explain us what is carbon credits, and is it like used to drive sustainability, or is it a license to pollute more?
I thank you for bringing this question up. It's a very important question, and I'm glad you brought it up. Carbon credits are a very essential piece as we are going to hit the net zero transition. And why are carbon credits important? Let's talk about that. See, we have 1.5 trillion, so 51 billion tons of carbon emissions globally. Today, we have, on an accumulated level, 1.5 trillion tons of carbon, CO2 already in the atmosphere that we have to eliminate. So there's an example, a very famous example that has been given, which is a bathtub example. So assume that you're in a bathtub, right? And the bathtub has a lot of water in it. The water is the emissions that we have, produced so far. The tap is basically the activities that we're doing which are basically producing more carbon emissions. Even if you close the tap, which is decarbonization, where organizations are becoming more and more decarbonized, even if you decarbonize completely, you still have 1.5 trillion tons and more counting already, which is in the form of water in the bathtub. How do you remove that? The removal is through when you remove the drain. When you drain that 1.5 trillion that's already in the atmosphere, that can be done through projects. Projects that are out there to basically reduce, to suck the carbon out from, as I mentioned, human engineered projects and nature based projects that are working to basically suck the carbon out from the atmosphere.
Now, coming to the fintech and in the MENA region, apart from sustainability, what other trends you see in the fintech side, and where do you see opportunities? I mean, we have seen successful companies coming out of
Yeah.
the region across the globe. So, where do you see the growth now that will happen in the fintech side?
So, Middle East and North Africa, and I would say now the wider Africa, because MENA Fintech Association just also launched our Africa wing as well. We have a great chair. His name is Yassine Fakir. He's based in Morocco. We're focusing on the entire Africa region. We have great interest from Africa. So I'll talk widely. See, this region is the hub now. We've been saying this for the longest time. It's a gold mine. All other markets are saturated markets. This is a market that is growing. Everyone's talking about it globally. Center of it all, from sports, entertainment, financial services, innovation, everything is happening in this region. There's more economic activity as well, booming economic activity. When you have booming economic activity in any market, you also require more efficient services too. And again, fintech is all about ease, access, convenience, transparency, affordability, and being able to delight the consumer or the end user, right? You're able to enable these five things through new technologies that are also emerging.
Now, coming to the new startups or even established companies who wants to come to the region, how does MENA Fintech Association supports them, or what support you can provide them, in the region?
Abra, in terms of providing support as MENA Fintech Association, you've always worked very closely with startups as well and also with fintechs. How we have worked is, first of all, we have a lot of plenty of fintechs who would reach out to us from outside the market and within the market, the two types of fintechs. The ones outside the market would like to access and scale in the region. They would like to identify that they would like to understand the dynamics of how the business is done in this market, right? That could be, European or Far East fintech looking to expand into the region. Very important for them to understand. Second piece is, and plus, when they're expanding into the region, they really either they're lacking connections, or second, they want to ensure that the people that they're talking to are valid, credible people who are not going to be wasting the time. It's very important. Second is within the region, let's say within the country, who would like connectivity with the right players. And if there's a great fintech, or if there's a promising fintech with the with a dedicated and a committed founder who would like to make certain pitches or connectivity with a certain, I would say, larger payment player or a certain retailer, this is where the association typically helps them as well in terms of market connectivity. The third thing is going to be the commercial model refinement. A lot of fintechs require commercial modeling towards what they're doing in terms of what pricing should they be offering to the market, how should they be able to offer a product proposition which is more relevant to the market in terms of pricing as well, what sort of pricing model they should be adapting to. Fourth is going to be the regulations and the policies. What sort of licenses do they require? What sort of policies should they be focusing on? What are they missing out on? And fifth, of course, is going to be connecting them to our VC networks as well.
Perfect. Now, my last question.
Yes.
You have been.
I'm enjoying this conversation. Why the last one?
No, we can continue as well.
Okay.
So
Part two?
Yeah, part two, exactly. So my question is, you have worked as a founder, a successful one, and you, as a MENA chairman of the MENA Fintech Association, works with a lot of entrepreneurs. What has been some of the successful growth strategies that founders have taken, or some of the stories of the fintech who did really well? So, what advice will give to the entrepreneurs?
Abra, I'll give my personal experience over here. And to entrepreneurs expanding over here in the region, or in general to entrepreneurs, see, no matter how many people you know, there is going to be disappointment. So be ready for that, right? But that disappointment should not disappoint your inner self. As a founder, you need to have complete conviction. You need to be able to show, you need to be sure of what you're doing. And number three, have belief in yourself. When a lot of times, a lot of people will disappoint you, continue, learn from their mistakes, take their advice. If someone disappoints you, some of the closest people in entrepreneurship sometimes disappoint you. But the important piece is your faith should be very strong in what you're building. It should not be shaken, and you should continue towards what you're doing. A lot of people, even in this market, will tell you, no, you cannot do this. Or no, you will fail in this. You know what you're building. Entrepreneurship is all about taking risks. Entrepreneurship is more about, understanding who you are actually. I mean, I understood myself a lot more in the process of this entire process as well, right? It makes you a whole new person. And I have more respect abroad today for all the entrepreneurs out there, right? And when you're building, disappointments and no is a very important and a crucial part of the process. It is very important. I mean, today when anyone tells me no, you cannot do this, it just adds more fuel. Like I feel, that there's a problem to solve. There's a challenge to solve. There's something to work on myself or on the project. In this market, it is very important to have the right people next to you. Have the right genuine people to guide you into your journey. It is very important. The network around you, the right people around you, it is so important. They make you into who you are today. As you always say, your network is your net worth.
Net worth, yeah.
It's so true, right? And it is so important for an entrepreneur to have the right inspiring people around you. It should be the right mental wavelength. The vibe should be right. That's how you're able to grow. I learned so much abroad with so many leaders who are out there. I learned from them so much, right? Because their energy levels are different. They guide you genuinely. And I'm being very honest with you. Sometimes there is malice attached with a lot of people, and you can sense it. A lot of times you would find genuine leaders who would genuinely sit down with you and guide you. And in this market, do not be afraid of asking for assistance and help from these leaders. Trust me, they help you. Trust me, they advise you. And you need to take advice from other people. So for an entrepreneur in this market, network, very important. Number two, build your trust. When you're launching your product, first try to do solid homework, right? And then you go out. Instead of rushing into announcements. I've seen many founders rushing into announcements. Let's make an announcement tomorrow. That won't really help. See, one is that if you're making an announcement, what are you backing it up with? Focus on the business. Focus on how quickly you will be able to hit your revenues. Focus on the launch of actual product, not just the announcement. So this is my recommendation. I know it's a very haywire, all over the place recommendation, but just trying to keep it as authentic and general as possible.
Thank you, Nabil. It's really a pleasure to have you, and thank you for coming. And
Sorry for that.
no, but thank you very much. Nabil.
Thank you very much for having me, Abrar. It was an absolute pleasure having you. I've been enjoying your podcast as well, and wishing you more and more success and looking forward to your season 2. Take care.
Thank you.